Hey guys, I wanted to talk to you guys about how to get your Security Plus in 2 weeks, how I got my Security Plus in 2 weeks anyways, and how you can too. I'm going to share with you some of the tips and tricks that I kind of picked up, the study materials that I used, and kind of my structure, my process for going about and getting the Security Plus. So the thing that I would say I should start off with is you say, "Oh, Michael, you didn't have any experience working in the field. What sort of experience did you have?" So the first thing I wanna start off with, because I don't want to be disingenuous and say that you don't need anything at all. You never need to touch a computer at all to get your Security Plus. You totally do. You need to be, I would say, computer savvy. What I brought to the table before I started studying, as a comparison to see where you're at, is I had my CCNA and I had essentially just listened to a bunch of podcasts and just been somebody who really enjoyed computers, who enjoyed going on Free Code Academy and kind of learning, taking a couple of courses on there and learning that way. So if you have anything along those lines, you're probably in a really good position to get it in just 2 weeks. If you don't, listen to kind of the section that I'm about to talk about in terms of what you do need at least to get this exam really fast. If you don't have exactly my experience, most of you won't. So essentially, like I said, I got my CCNA. I have a foundation with networking, and I had listened to podcasts on Security Plus issues, things like vulnerabilities, worms, Darknet Diaries. The specific podcast I'm talking about is absolutely amazing. I just listened to their podcast recently talking about SMB vulnerabilities that NSA leaked, called Eternal Blue and Eternal Romance, I believe, and some of the coolest stuff so experience wise, I had that, which, to be quite honest with you, isn't really much when you think about it. But at the very least, what I would say that you need is just basic networking experience and maybe just an interest in security. If you have basic networking experience and an interest in security, there's no reason in my mind that you can't pass this test in 2 weeks, and if not 2 weeks, a month and a half of just studying for this exam. Definitely doable. So let's talk about what's on the exam itself. The exam is 90 minutes long and it's 90 questions long. So 1 minute per question. Now, some questions are going to take a couple of seconds to answer. Some questions, especially the performance-based questions, performance-based meaning questions that are labs, questions that are simulations, things that are meant to mirror real world sort of examples. You're gonna have those questions, and those ones are gonna take the most time. But they are as tricky as they look. They're doable and they're passable. Passing score for the Security Plus is going to be at least 80%. And 18 questions wrong, that's really all you have to work with. Very, very possible for you to do. But a lot of people get tricked up because the Security Plus is tricky. It's tricky in that what they like to do is when they give you an exam question, they give you several answers that seem like it could be the correct answer, but you have to eliminate in your mind which answers are less likely to be the correct one versus the actual correct answer. And that does take some grinding in terms of understanding your study material very well. So that's kind of how you're going to start looking at the exam. You're going to start seeing this exam as an exam that's kind of meant to be a little bit tricky. So the next thing that's important is, what did I use to study for the exam? I would say the top two study materials in terms of just the information portion, not testing, would be Get Certified, Get Ahead. I'll put a link down to that book below to get that on Amazon or wherever. It's about $30. Not too expensive, definitely worth it, especially if this stands between you getting a better job or a job. So definitely worth the investment to get that book. And Professor Messer's free video course on Security Plus. Now, Get Certified, Get Ahead is awesome because it has everything you need in that book. Every single thing that you need. You don't need to really even find another resource. The information is there. And for me, I read that book 3 to 4 times in 2 weeks, about 50 pages a day, just going through everything, and trying to absorb that information as much as possible. So reading that book about 3 to 4 times is what you need. Now, Professor Messer, his video course is absolutely awesome companion for me because I'm not a video guy. I prefer books. That's how I got my CCNA. That's how I got my Security Plus. Books is my preference. But for a video course, Professor Messer's video course is awesome because it has a structured way of setting things up on the syllabus. So compared to the syllabus, excuse me. So whatever is on the Security Plus syllabus he's gonna have a corresponding video on his website about that particular topic. That makes it so easy to make sure you don't have any gaps in studying. So pairing those two things together is awesome because the book doesn't really follow that syllabus, but it has all the information. But the video course does follow that syllabus, and you're able to make sure you find your weaknesses and be able to study those weaknesses out quickly, as well as make sure you don't have any gaps in maybe things you overread or just don't remember reading, etc., etc. For testing, I would recommend, and I probably recommend this for like everything I do, Boson testing is absolutely amazing. Boson testing is the reason I passed my CCNA, and it's the reason as well I was able to pass my Security Plus. Now, for performance-based questions, I don't think there's really a strong testing simulation for those. Those are hard to mimic. You really have to know the stuff well, and you really have to get used to just labs. You have to understand how to lab things out, how to do configurations. Being around that sort of setup and environment truly just help. Even just learning some command line, even if you don't see it on the exam, it's a configuration, and just configuring things will help you just kind of mess around with whatever sort of simulation they give you on the exam. So I would say Boson is great because it's going to help you with those multiple choice questions, number one. And number two, it's going to be extremely important to finding your weaknesses. And this is kind of actually going to go into my process for how I was able to do it so quickly. So I've given you guys about 3 different resources to check out now. Get Certified, Get Ahead, Professor Messer's Security Plus video course, and now I'm recommending Boson's security exams. What you do and what I did was I would spend all week reading the book, about 50 pages a day. I would read, kind of take notes, talk to myself about what I read, try to understand what are my lapses, etc., etc. I'll spend the whole day just going through that, and then I would go ahead during the weekend, take a Boson test. Boson test, by the way, I don't think I mentioned it. Boson test would be like $99, but worth it. So far I've spent about $120 plus the exam itself, which is like $350. So it can get expensive, but I was reimbursed for my job. So worth it. And I think it's worth it even if you don't get reimbursed, because you're gonna get a better job. You're gonna plus your life. But anyways, back to my process. So Boson essentially would reveal my weaknesses on the weekends, and then I would go to Professor Messer's video course, find these weaknesses, and be able to go through and literally watch videos on those weaknesses. Then I would go take another test, find my weaknesses. Did I get any stronger? Did I get weaker in other areas? And then go through Professor Messer's video courses to go ahead and solidify my weaknesses again. Rinse, lather, repeat that process. Then when Monday came around, went back to reading 50 to 60 pages a day. And then that following weekend, the same exact thing. And then I believe that Wednesday I'd taken the exam. So that's kind of a process that I think you guys can follow. It certainly worked for me in terms of being successful with the Security Plus. And I just think it'll be super helpful for you guys. So yeah, I would say if somebody asked me, was the whole Security Plus thing worth it? Totally. Now, I didn't pay for the exam because my job ended up paying for it. But even if I didn't, I can honestly say it made me very desirable for working with government agencies, subsidiaries, or people who work alongside government agencies. The Security Plus is an exam that a lot of people want and look out for when hiring. So I totally recommend that you guys go out and get it. And I'll just leave you guys with this. If you've been struggling to get your Security Plus exam, if you're kind of looking at me and saying, "Oh, I've taken this exam like 3 times and I haven't been able to pass," and he's only taken it 1 time and he's never worked in the industry, and I've been a tech or help desk or what have you, I would say that you can do it. Obviously, you can do it. You know, you are totally capable of passing this exam. And it's not about dedication or working harder. Maybe consistency. Some people struggle with that. But I believe that if you find the right resources, the ones that I told you about, and you follow that study plan, I think that you guys will have great results. If not in 2 weeks, in a month or 2. So anyways, I hope somebody watched this video and gained some value from it. Ask questions down below, like and subscribe. If you do end up asking a question, I am more than happy to just answer. Anyways, I'm out. Peace.